Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
Good morning and welcome to Business Focus, proudly brought to us by POSB. As always, we have Kudzie Sharara on the line to update us of how the world of business is going. You've got questions to do with business. Feel free to come through on our WhatsApp platform, 0719 100404. Good morning to you, Kudzie. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Kudzie. Let's begin by rewinding to take a look at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange trading update for Friday, the 11th of July, last week.
Thank you, Tinashe. I think it's the same story when it comes to the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. I'm not sure where and when it will get its reprieve, when we start to see pronounced movements on the ZSC. It continues to trade flat, even though we here and there we see that significant amounts coming to the market, but they are not widespread. They are probably confined to a few stocks. If you look at Friday, for example, we had Econet getting about 20.3 million VIG worth of shares changing hands there, and then we had Delta getting about 17.3 million VIG worth of shares that changed hands there. But from there, we then have EcoCash at just about 696,000. Then AFT is about 389,000. So again, you can see how the market is skewed towards a few stocks that are very liquid. But in terms of prices, we haven't seen much movement. Although it's sort of like you could call it a bearish trend, because as much as the movements are very insignificant or marginal, it's flat to negative. Because at the end of the day, you then look at your year-to-date gains or losses. You can then see that the ZSC All-Share Index, since the beginning of the year, has shared about 9.96%. So that's where the negative aspect comes from. Very marginal, but ultimately it's a negative outturn for the stock market. The top 10 index also coming off year-to-date by 11.86%, again showing you that the trend is bearish, and it's not good news for example, if you look at a pension fund that is trying to do some payouts to its pensioners, and maybe they probably were looking at liquidating some stocks, they are likely to liquidate those stocks at a much lower value than they should probably be liquidating them. So that's the negative aspect there. Any investor that probably was on a long-term investment journey, and they were looking at 2025 as a year that they would want to liquidate their shares for whatever reasons. Maybe they wanted to invest elsewhere. Maybe they wanted to send their kid to university, or for whatever reason. And they were looking at 2025 as the year that they would probably sell some of their shares. Again, such investors are obviously not happy at the moment, because the prices that they then get to sell are probably less than the prices that they enjoyed a few years ago, or within the 20-year horizon or 10-year horizon. They probably enjoyed better prices than the ones that are prevailing at the moment. If you go back to 2013, 2014, 2016, thereabout, the market was valued at around 6 billion, and now it's valued at probably, if you combine the ZSP and the VFX, the valuation is around 3 billion. So that person is obviously not happy with the way the market is trended. But anyone who is then looking at probably getting into the market now, probably anyone who is looking at increasing their shareholding in any of the listed companies, I think those ones are happy, because they are getting into the market when it is on the low side, and that speaks to the basic rule of investments, where they say buy low, sell high. So those are enjoying their time, because they get to invest at a time when the market is on the downside. So that's how I look at the market. Obviously, just looking at what happened on Friday, a marginal 0.02% drop on the all-share index and a marginal 0.08% drop on the top 10 index. The VFX loss was a little bit more pronounced, a 1.09% drop there. The VFX is more pronounced because it's in US dollars. So when it loses by 1%, that's huge actually for the VFX because we are talking about US dollar investments there. And then just looking at top risers and fallers, Citgo top riser with a 1.46% gain, followed by Aftif putting on 1.19%, Hippo adding 1.15%, Ariston a marginal 0.39% to the good, Econet a marginal 0.01% as well. And then on the downside, the biggest loser was EcoCash, down by 7.87%, Star Africa down by 4.78%, and then you also had ZSC Holdings, the new baby on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, at the ZSC, which dropped 3.68%. Obviously, there are some shareholders, maybe some stockbrokers and other shareholders within the ZSC who were holding on to these shares and they were waiting for this day to be selling. And there's also belief in some investors or analysts, if I put it that way. Remember that last week, I think on Friday, was it Friday or Thursday? On the day that the ZSC listed, I think it was on a Thursday, we had analysts who was saying that the valuation of the ZSC, I think it was above 12 million. But we've got other analysts that believe that the ZSC should be valued at around 3 million. My good friend Sylvester Mpanduti believes it should be around 3 million, and he has been talking about this valuation for a while. So, if depending on whom you believe, whether you're believing in Tapua, who spoke to us last week, or you're believing to Sylvester, another analyst in the market, then if you are believing in Sylvester, who believes the ZSC should be valued at 3 million, obviously you are going to be looking at the current valuation and say, okay, this is the time to sell. It's trading at a higher price than it should be, and so we continued. We saw that that drop on the ZSC to 3.68%. Hopefully this week we'll be getting to talk to the CEO of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, just to also get his insights on the company that he has since listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. OK Zimbabwe also down by 0.5%. Year to date it's down by 48%. We still wait for the capital raise for OK Zimbabwe so that it can be revived. Some believe that it can never be returned to its former glory days, even if they raise this money. They believe that there is now so much competition from the so-called tax shops, and OK will not return to its former glory. Well, we'll wait and see whether the 30 million capital raise will change the fortunes of this particular company. Marshall and Holdings also are coming off by 0.02%. So that's how things went on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange on Friday, Tinashe.
All right, Kudzi, there's a quick question coming up on WhatsApp right now saying that Kudzi, of late we have been seeing a downward trend at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. What could be the contributing factor?
For me, it's mostly of a macroeconomic issue where the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange trades in Zimbabwe in big in the Zimbabwe gold, and the Zimbabwe gold at the moment is tightly held by the central bank, and I believe because and also the other thing is that the economy is largely trading in US dollars. I think if you go by the statistics of the RBZ, you then say when you look at the transactions that go through the national payment system, a larger chunk of just about 56% is in US dollars, according to the Reserve Bank, and about 43% is in VIG, and that it also then speaks to the fact that so most investors, you look at pension funds, they are also holding these US dollars. But the ZSC trades in VIG, and they have most people, they don't want to change their US dollars so that they can trade in the local currency. They would rather just make sure that they don't have to suffer any exchange losses that might result from changing from your US dollar into your ZiG. Remember, there is a 20% to 25% premium between the US dollar and the ZiG. So anyone who is changing their money from US dollars to ZiG, some might believe that they are losing on that premium, where you're supposed to be changing, let's say, 36% on the power market, but because you're doing these things formally, you're changing probably at 26%, you feel that you're losing money. So we are not seeing that much money flowing to the ZSC. The other thing that is causing that is because there is the property market seems to be doing well. As much as Zimbabwe's got a housing backlog of more than 2 million, depending on when you speak to, between 1.5 to 2 million housing backlog. And we have seen institutions, pension funds, banks coming up with houses that actually have title deeds, where you can get that title deeds. And people have been investing in these houses. We have also seen cluster homes that in old setups where you had one house maybe occupying just 200 square meters, and yet the yard is as big as 4,000 square meters. You go to places like in the Avondale, Greendale, and the like. And these residential areas are being turned into cluster houses, and we are seeing a significant amount of that money going into that. If you look at the latest IPEC report, it also showed that quite a number of these developments, property developments, were given prescribed asset status. So we are seeing again funds flowing to the property sector rather than the stock market. So that has resulted in that negative trend. I've just mentioned two of those of the macroeconomic issues that have seen funds turning to the property market away from the ZSB.
All right. Hopefully, listener, you have been answered on that one. Thank you, Kudzie. 5 minutes before 8 is our timer. It is Business Focus brought to you by POSB. Kudzie, let's look at the tobacco selling update. Iri kumbofamba sei kufodya ku ndakutotarisa parodhi apa ndikuona marori akatakura fodya ari kupfuura apa.
Marori achiri kutakura fodya tinashe. Yesterday I was coming from Chiweshe, where my church, the Salvation Army, was celebrating 160 years of being formed, and I was seeing quite a number of trucks coming from that direction. And so far, as of day 88, which is the 10th of July, 340 million kgs of tobacco had been produced. 340 million kgs of tobacco had been delivered to the auction, as well as contract sales. So that's a record that has been broken there. I remember, I think some time ago, the chairperson of TIMB, Patrick Devenish, was quoted saying that they were now targeting 340, but it seems like 340 has been done with. It's a record level, and probably by the time they close the auction floors and do the mop-up sales, maybe we could be getting to 350 million kgs having been produced. My only worry is that the prices this year have been lower. The average price, that is, have been lower than last year's price. So when you talk of average price this year, it's at $3.34 per kg versus $3.43 per kg. I'm not sure whether it is a quality issue or what, but the average prices have been lower, especially on the contract sales, where the average price is $3.32 when you compare with the price at the auction, which is at $3.60. So that's probably just a blemish there on this tobacco selling season. So far, about $1.1 billion worth of tobacco has changed hands, with farmers delivering a record 340 million kgs of tobacco. So it's a milestone that we have seen. So yeah, I think that's about it with the tobacco chain. But remember that again, at Tinashe, because they've been called by some sections of the tobacco sector and that maybe we need to fund our tobacco locally because we are not seeing the value is not. We are not seeing the impact of these record levels. And also, in terms of value beneficiation and value addition, we haven't seen much of that. And the Zim Papers Group is planning on the 25th of July. They are planning to have a tobacco conference that is themed transforming Zimbabwe's tobacco industry through beneficiation and value addition. They want to unlock this into a $5 billion industry. So the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Enshas Masuka, as well as the Permanent Secretary, Professor Obejiri, will be the speakers there, keynote speakers at that conference. There are other players, private sector, bankers, merchants, manufacturers, financial institutions, policymakers, researchers, and industry experts are expected to be at that conference. And if you want to participate, you want to sponsor, you want to speak, I think the right person to call so that you can participate is Martin. You can get him on 0772 651 852. Martin at 0772 651 852. And I think for today, that's what we can talk about. But tomorrow, I want to talk about an issue that has been that bobbed to the limelight over the weekend with regards the tax dispute between Delta and Zimra. And I think we'll be able to get some more insights on that case because I think on Thursday there was a story, or Friday there was a story online which generated a lot of debate. And in today's Herald, there's another story with regards to that tax dispute. So
all right,
we'll talk about that tomorrow.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much. Let me hold you there. Our time is up for today for Business Focus, brought to us by POSB. Let's discuss more tomorrow.
Thank you, Tinashe.
At POSB, we are committed to providing the support